Here is a shopping cart experiment. Put Terraria, Stardew Valley, Hollow Knight, Among Us, and Balatro in a Steam cart, and the total is $59.95, less than one copy of Battlefield 6. Now line each of those 5 games up against a famous AAA title people are actually playing in August 2026: Elden Ring, Cyberpunk 2077, Arc Raiders, Battlefield 6, and EA Sports FC 26, and compare one number, total Steam reviews. The 5 cheap indie games win all 5 matchups. Every count in this video was pulled live from Steam's review API on August 10, 2026, and every endpoint is linked in the description. Today I'll walk you through all 5 cards, and by the end you'll know the pattern that keeps producing this result.
Before you show me the list, convince me the metric matters, because my first objection is that review count just measures sales. It doesn't, and the distinction is the whole point. Sales can be driven by marketing spend, bundles, and giveaways. A review only exists when a real player decides, unprompted, to stop and write. You can't buy that number, and botting it at scale gets flagged by Valve. My second objection is the one this channel got burned by before: a huge ratio against a game nobody searches for is worthless. So the ground rule today is strict. Every AAA anchor must be a game with a live player base in 2026. No flops, no punching down at abandoned releases. If the indie wins against a game people are actively playing this month, the win means something.
Here is the full field, verified August 10, 2026, all languages, all purchase types. Card 1, Terraria, $9.99 from small studio Relogic, 1,543,726 reviews versus Elden Ring's 1,147,653. Card 2, Stardew Valley, $14.99 from one person, 1,030,375 versus Cyberpunk 2077's 969,628. Card 3, Hollow Knight, $14.99 from a 3-person team, 556,127 versus Arc Raiders 411,649. Card 4, Among Us, $4.99 from a team of about 5, 742,642 versus Battlefield 6's 359,241. Card 5, Balatro, $14.99 from a solo anonymous developer, 196,520 versus EA Sports FC 26's 100,009. 5 for 5. And notice the score column: every indie on this list sits at very positive or overwhelmingly positive, while 3 of the 5 AAA anchors are at mixed or low very positive.
The card that surprises me most is the closest one, so let's look at it before the blowouts. Stardew Valley vs. Cyberpunk 2077 is a genuine photo finish. 1,030,375 against 969,628, a gap of about 60,000 reviews, roughly 6%. One side is Eric Barone, who spent 4 years alone writing the code, drawing the pixels, and composing the soundtrack. The other side is CD Projekt Red, a publicly traded company whose game got a Netflix anime, a celebrity cast, and one of the largest marketing campaigns in the industry's history. After all of that, the redemption arc, the 2.0 overhaul, the Phantom Liberty expansion, the farming game made by one person is still ahead on the number of players who chose to write.
Card 1 in detail, Terraria vs. Elden Ring. Terraria launched in May 2011 at $9.99, built by Relogic, a team you could seat at one table. As of August 10, 2026, it holds 1,543,726 Steam reviews at overwhelmingly positive, about 97%. Elden Ring, From Software's Landmark, one of the most awarded games of the decade, a genuine evergreen that still charts on Steam's most played list, holds 1,147,653 at roughly 93%. Understand what the anchor is here: this is not a weak opponent, it is arguably the most respected AAA release of the 2020s, and Terraria is still nearly 400,000 reviews ahead. The mechanism is 15 years of free content updates. Relogic kept shipping major patches to a $10 game for over a decade, and every update pulled players back and minted a new wave of reviewers.
Card 2, and let me play the student here. How does one person's game accumulate 1 million+ reviews when Cyberpunk had a marketing budget bigger than Stardew's entire development cost, thousands of times over? The answer I keep finding in the review record is time in game. Stardew Valley, released February 2016 at $14.99, is a game people live in. Reviews are written at the 100-hour and 500-hour mark, and its 98.5% positive rate is one of the highest of any game on Steam at this scale, across over 1 million verdicts. Cyberpunk 2077 earned its comeback honestly and sits at very positive, about 87%. But its story ends. Players finish, review once, and move on. Stardew's seasons don't end. Its updates kept arriving free for a decade, and haunted chocolatier anticipation keeps pulling new players back into the older game right now.
Card 3 is the one with a 2026 pulse on both sides. Hollow Knight Team Cherry, 3 core people in Adelaide, $14.99, released February 2017, holds 556,127 reviews at overwhelmingly positive, about 97%. Its anchor is Arc Raiders, Embark Studios' extraction shooter that launched October 2025 at $39.99 and became one of the biggest multiplayer releases of that year. It is sitting in Steam's top play chart this week with over 100,000 peak concurrent players, and it has amassed 411,649 reviews in under a year, which is genuinely fast. And the 9-year-old game from 3 people is still 144,000 reviews ahead. What keeps Hollow Knight's count climbing in 2026 is the Silksong effect. A year after the sequel's launch, speedrun and challenge content around the series still pulls tens of thousands of daily views, and a share of that audience buys the original.
Card 4 has the widest gap on the board, and it's against this year's biggest shooter launch. Among Us Inner Sloth, a team of about 5, $4.99, released 2018, holds 742,642 reviews at very positive 92%. Battlefield 6 launched October 2025 at $69.99 as EA's flagship, had one of the largest shooter launches in Steam history, and holds 359,241 reviews, at mixed 64%, as the player base works through its Season 1 grievances. That's the 5-person party game ahead by more than 2 to 1. The honest mechanism. Among Us is social software. Every lobby needs friends, every friend needs a copy, and 2020's viral explosion converted an entire generation of players into owners at a $5 price point where the review is almost a thank you note.
Card 5 is the fairest fight on the board, because both games are recent. Balatro, released February 2024 by LocalFunk, one anonymous developer, at $14.99, holds 196,520 reviews at overwhelmingly positive, about 98%. EA Sports FC 26, released September 2025 at $69.99 is the latest entry in the biggest sports franchise on Earth, holds 100,009 at mixed 50%, almost exactly half of its reviewers giving a thumbs down. No 15-year accumulation excuse here. The solo card game is only 19 months older and has nearly double the count. Balatro's loop, one more run, one more broken Joker combination, generates precisely the kind of specific personal story players feel compelled to write down. An annualized franchise where this year's entry closely resembles last year's generates the opposite, a purchase, not a story.
Now let me argue against our own video, because 3 of these 5 cards have a structural asymmetry a fair analyst has to disclose. Terraria launched in 2011 and Elden Ring in 2022, 15 years of accumulation against 4.5. Stardew launched in 2016, Cyberpunk in 2020. Hollow Knight launched in 2017, Arc Raiders in 2025, 9 years against 10 months. Among Us launched in 2018, Battlefield 6 in 2025. Balatro launched in 2024, EA FC 26 in 2025. Older games accumulate, that is expected, and if the anchors were as old as the indies, some of these margins would look different. Second downside, annualized franchises split their review base. FC 2026's 100,000 reviews sit next to separate entries for FC 25, FC 24, and a decade of FIFA titles. The franchise's total review mass across SKUs dwarfs Balatro's. The count we quoted is real for the current entry, but it underrepresents the franchise. And third, the Stardew Cyberpunk margin is 6%. It may flip within a year. These numbers are a snapshot, not gospel, which is exactly why every count carries a date and a live API link.
And the bigger downside, review count measures how many players felt compelled to write. It does not measure whether a game serves your specific need, so here is who should avoid using this list as a buying guide. If you want a 64 versus 64 large-scale military shooter, Among Us 742,000 reviews are irrelevant to you. Nothing on the indie side of this board does what Battlefield 6 does, and mixed reception or not, it is the only card in that category here. If you want a licensed football game with real clubs in this season's squads, EAFC 26 is effectively the only option on PC. Balatro is not a substitute, it is a different species. Same for Arc Raiders, none of these 5 indies is a squad extraction shooter. The trade-off runs the other way too. Hollow Knight's difficulty wall and sparse handholding genuinely filter players out, and its 97% comes from those who pushed through. This list tells you where player conviction concentrates per dollar. It is not for genre needs the indie side simply does not cover.
So what do the 5 winners actually share? I count 3 properties, and team size isn't one of them. It's a consequence, not a cause. First, every one of these games is designed so that sessions produce stories. A Terraria boss built in a backyard arena, a Balatro Joker chain that broke the score counter, an Among Us betrayal at the emergency meeting. Players write reviews when something specific happened to them. Second, everyone kept its accumulation window open, Terraria and Stardew with a decade of free updates, Hollow Knight with a sequel Halo, Among Us with a viral second life 2 years after launch. Third, the price sets the satisfaction bar at a level hundreds of hours of play clears effortlessly, and the review is where the surplus gratitude goes. AAA anchors deliver spectacle, but spectacle is consumed once. Stories are told repeatedly, and the counter only moves when someone has one to tell.
Here's how to actually use this data the next time you're deciding what to buy. Step 1. Treat positivity-weighted review mass as a shortlist filter. A game with hundreds of thousands of reviews at 95+% is a very low-risk purchase, because that score survived a population too large to be a fan bubble. Step 2. Check the date on any count you're quoted, because these numbers drift. 2 matchups our own channel ran earlier this year inverted when we re-verified them live this week, which is why nothing in this video is quoted from memory. Step 3. Correct for age. Weighted 2024 games count far above a 2011 games when they're close. Step 4, and only then, check genre fit against what you actually want to play this month, because the metric ranks conviction, not fit. That 4-step filter is the entire method behind the database this channel is built on.
The scoreboard one more time, all verified August 10, 2026, via the Steam appreviews API. Every endpoint is linked below. Terraria 1,543,726 versus Elden Ring 1,147,653. Stardew Valley 1,030,375 versus Cyberpunk 2077 969,628. Hollow Knight 556,127 versus Arc Raiders 411,649. Among Us 742,642 versus Battlefield 6 359,241. Balatro 196,520 versus EA Sports FC 26 100,009. 5 famous, currently played AAA anchors, 5 indie wins, combined indie price $59.95. The full, continuously updated dataset behind every card, with live counts, scores, and prices for hundreds of indie games, is at findindiegame.com, linked in the description. If watching small teams win on the one number money can't move is your kind of thing, subscribe. We run the data every week.